Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Infinity Gaming. I'm Joe once again, and I'm with Ian from Yacht Club Games. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Just another day of King Knight development here, wrapping up.
Must be fun.
Yeah, it has its ups and downs.
So, where I want to start is every, and where I see it is everything has a beginning. Every game has a World 1-1. And you said earlier when we were talking that you were part of Shovel, or not Shovel Knight, but well, Shovel Knight / Yacht Club from the beginning.
The same
So,
thing.
did you work at Way Forward with the guys from Yacht Club, or were you like an
Yeah,
outsider?
yeah. I was at Way Forward for like 6 or 7 years. I forget what it came out to. But yeah, I was working on DS titles at Way Forward, 3DS, Wii U. I would say yeah, that's how I met everyone here at Yacht Club. It's during my Way Forward days. I worked on titles like Batman the Brave and the Bold for Wii, which is a beautiful hand-drawn, fully voice-acted, like the episodes from the game, from the movie, the TV show. There we go. But like in a brawler kind of co-op brawler way. I worked on, Mighty Switch Force titles. I worked on some movie tie-in games that we don't have to get into right now, but trust me, they're all there. I have them sitting in a pile back here. They're fine. They're all great.
Okay, so then where was the beginning of when you guys started talking about maybe going away from Way Forward and starting Yacht Club and then eventually Shovel Knight? What was the? Let's tell this. If you can, tell me what the story was.
Way back when we've worked together on various projects together. Like some of us worked on Blood Rain Betrayal, some of us worked on Batman DS and a few things like that. So our team, the team that we have now, we were working in different capacities together on different projects, along with everyone else at that company, as the need arise. We After a certain point, we realized that we kind of worked well together, and after Double Dragon Neon in particular, we kind of wanted to continue making games together because we felt like we had a pretty good thing going with what we valued in a game, like how we pitched ideas, how we bounced ideas off one another and iterated, and what our focus was just as a team. And so we wanted to continue working together on whatever the next project was, but it wasn't in the cards. Sorry, I'm looking for a remote here because there's something showing up on screen. But anyway, sorry, but that wasn't in the cards just because due to the nature of the work there, sometimes everyone needs to jump on this project to see it out the door, or sometimes something could need fewer people or more people, and so that wasn't something that was going to happen. So we thought we'd start doing it on the side and maybe start working on our own game on the weekends just to see what we would like to make together. And we worked on a title that after a little bit we didn't like it at all, and we didn't like what we were making or where it was headed, so we kind of just threw it in the garbage. And we kind of hit a reset button and said okay, what can we make instead? And we were all sitting around and trying to imagine a game that all of us that a smaller team could make, where we can control every part of it. And that's when the idea of making a focused game like Shovel Knight, or making a game like an NES inspired game would come into play. Then we could make all the pixel art in-house. We could do all the programming ourselves. We could change every bit of it if we weren't happy with the results, and just to get something really focused and honed to a fine edge. And so we started putting together ideas for a game like Shovel Knight, and it all came to be.
Okay, so when did Kickstarter come into play then?
Because
Kickstarter was fairly new when this started, right? Kickstarter games weren't really the norm they are now. It was
fairly new, but we definitely weren't. I think we were post Double Fine, we were post Ouya. I think people were pretty. I know now we're post Ouya, but it was still people were familiar with the platform. But yeah, I guess everyone discovered it at different times. So some people said Shovel Knight was the first time I ever looked at Kickstarter or knew it was a thing. And I'm sure new games have come and gone since then.
Mine was Bloodstain.
Oh wow! Well then, yeah, you're a pretty modern day Kickstarter then, because that was
the one that actually drove me to look at it, because I found Shovel Knight when it was first released on the Wii U. That was the third game I think I bought from my Wii U, and then I heard Mighty Number 9, but at the same point in time, I was just graduating from high school around that time.
Right, right.
So
So
I was
you
like,
didn't really have money to throw around.
don't really have money to throw around, but don't have the didn't have the willing to be like, yeah, I'm gonna take a risk on giving away my debit card.
Okay, okay, yeah. Well, I'm happy. I also backed Bloodstained, and I'm excited to see it all turn out. So I hope you enjoy it.
I actually didn't back Bloodstained, but that was the one that made me
Oh, that was
check
the one
out
where you
Kickstarter.
read it. Read it. Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Well,
yeah. I
rest
still
assured.
My
That's all
only
right.
problem is I've known too many people who actually gave out their debit card online and lost their identity. So I'm
Well,
just like,
these days companies just lose your identity for you,
yeah,
so like you don't even have to do that anymore. It's just go for it.
yeah. But I'm just like weird of that. But I tell you what, Bloodstain, I was literally like this close, this close. I'm just like a
Well,
Metroidvania game. Oh yeah. Koji Iguruga, or I always
Igarashi.
mispronounce his name. Igarashi. I was like, yes, yes. And it's a
Yeah,
debit
yeah,
card.
it's a compelling proposition, I would say for sure.
Oh yeah, and Indie Creates is going to be developing it, which
They
oh,
were involved initially. Yeah, I think I'm not sure what the current state of that is, but I heard that's yeah. There's a few companies involved in making it happen.
okay. I'm excited for Bloodstain though because they released that trailer before E3, and that trailer pretty good,
It's
pretty good
cool. Did
looking.
you? I played the E3 demo because they gave that out
Lucky.
to backers. So yeah, it's cool. I'm excited to see it all turn out.
I'll just rub that in. They sent my demo out because I'm a backer and you're not, so I'll rub that in a little. But anyways, getting back on. Okay, so like I said earlier, but when did Kickstarter get into this? Like, when did you guys be like, you know what? We think we have something here that we could take to Kickstarter and it could be a big deal.
I mean, pretty early on, I guess. We we hit the reset button. We knew we wanted to make something we could all make in house, and so we set to putting together the pitch and demo for it. We're already used to like creating the idea of a pitch, just because that's how projects come into fruition at all sorts of companies. And so once we put that together, we started working on the demo, and that demo is what launched the Kickstarter. Like that was all what you saw in that trailer was exactly what the game could do at that time. If Shovel Knight like walked off screen, there would be nothing there and no content. We just made like 5 example scenarios and kind of went from there and kept building it up. It wasn't until the Kickstarter was alive for a week when we worked on the first stage ever in the game, which was Pridemore Keep. And that was like putting everything in the game. It's like, oh, he needs to die when you lose all your health. You need like chests, we need items, we need shops. And that all like came together all in like a frenzy of just working out of someone's apartment. And yeah, it all went from there.
Okay, so but were there like other challenges like getting it into Kickstarter? Like before, isn't it like now you have to have a demo? You know what I mean? Like the playable demo of the game, or like a trailer or something of the game, like a proof of concept.
I'm not sure that's the case. I think I still see plenty of pitches that are concept art or design documents. I'm not aware of any terms changes on Kickstarter, but we also haven't been on the platform outside of support and like responding to people, in the past 3 or 4 years. So I can't say for sure what changed.
So there really wasn't any like, but when you started and you guys were doing it, there wasn't any hoops to jump through. It was just like, okay, here's our trailer. This is how much
just
we
the
need.
normal pressures of making the game and pitching it to people. So for us, that was getting the project pitch out there, putting together all of our thoughts on it, what we wanted to do with the game, what we didn't want to do with the game. Like, there's a reason we didn't say we're going to make the hardest platformer you ever saw, because that was, not what we wanted Shovel Knight to be. And just like keeping, getting the word out to people and letting them find it. So.
Okay, that was cool. So now, when you guys got funded, I read an article like I think it was on your website or someone posted it from the team saying like there was a time where it was like really hard developing this game. Like you guys didn't take pay for a while. You guys were. Is any of that true, or was that like?
Yeah. I mean, that's all. If you look at our 6 months and 1 year sales articles on yachtclubgames.com, we kind of shared some of our personal stories about how much it takes to make a game like Shovel Knight and how what it's like to launch it. And we went late. Like the game, we needed more time to make the game great, and we elected to take it. And so thankfully everyone on Kickstarter, all of our backers and everyone who was following the game, they were all understanding and said like, okay, like if I need to wait this many more months, I'll see what I can do. And we were able to put that extra time to polish and to fix every corner of the game and just to make it that much better. You know, for any game, it's not just having all the levels there and having all the items and armors. It's like, it's making sure it all flows together. It's making sure things are clear, that things are accessible, that things are polished, and there's some surprises in there too. Like, we were, you know, going over the game from start to finish, testing it, adding in, like, you know, fixes or improvements. And so all that happened with no money left in the bank, right? Like, we froze all the money that was going for like Kickstarter rewards, but everything else was already spent up to that point. And we were already like working for as little as we could, just because, you know, we were taking a chance here. We were leaving and striking out on our own. So we were already like, you know, trying to live well under our means, but then we had to live on like zero means and to try and make that work. So different members of the team had different challenges, of course, just in terms of whether they had to like fall back on family, whether they had to, you know, were able to make changes or make adjustments to their lifestyle. But that's, thankfully, those moments aren't here anymore. So
yeah, it seems like you guys made the right choice, though. You know, like to give the game the time it needed to make it great. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a scary risk, right? I mean, the game could have come out, no one would have cared, and we've been like, okay, well, like, ta-da, like, that's video games, I guess. Thankfully, just the support we've gotten on, you know, on Kickstarter, during development, post-development, for each campaign, like, that allows us to keep doing what we're doing and to try and make things even better for everyone to enjoy.
Now, like, you know, I feel like the most like publicized example of like you got, you know, people giving the game the time it needs was in 2013, you know, with The Last of Us, and when I think it was, I want to say it was Neil Druckmann. He said, like, he did an interview with IGN, and he said, like, when they did that 3-month delay of The Last of Us, that was the time that it took the game and The Last of Us from being like maybe a 5 or a 6, he said, to like the 9 and 10 that it is.
I see. Yeah, I mean, those details, those small details, or those cohesive, like, holistic passes at the game. Like, okay, now we know what it is, and we just want to take, like, you know, a few more passes at it. We just want to, like, fix up the script. We just want to, like, you know, tune this a little bit more. There's so many things that, like, a video game's about immersion, especially for something like The Last of Us. And so little things can really take you out of it. And so I could see how just a little bit of polish can go such a long distance. So yeah, I totally get that.
Okay. Yeah, and like, you know, like I said, I was talking to Shannon earlier. Like, I got like 90% of the game beat my first time when I first bought it, and then I unplugged my external hard drive to the Wii U, and I lost my save.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm not coming back. I know the story. I'm good. But
well,
go on.
One of the great parts, I think, particularly about Shovel Knight, is like the first time through, it feels like a very large, expansive thing. You could really soak in the levels. You're like checking out every corner of it. But we also wanted it, once you're familiar with the game, to be something you could easily beat in an afternoon, just like a Mega Man or something like that. And so I would hope that when you went back and tackled it again, it wasn't a 10-hour save file. It was like a 2-hour save file. And you're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, great.
Yeah, pretty much.
That was definitely a design focus for us. Like, we didn't want there to be anything that would drag out the experience if you wanted to just replay it. It's like, oh, here's like the 4-hour auto scroll section, or here's the unskippable opera scene, or like anything like that.
Yeah, like my biggest thing though is like when anybody ever is like, okay, collect all the jewels in this, or the worst one for me, like my biggest love-hate is Banjo-Kazooie, because I have not finished those games yet, but I'm like 5-6 hours in, and I'm not even up to like 3rd level or whatever. I'm just like, I'm gonna check everything. I'm gonna get all this. And
I need to warn future you, never play Donkey Kong 64. If it ever comes up, someone's like, you should play Donkey Kong 64, you need to distance yourself from the system. It's just like, it's going to cause you a lot of anxiety. So I'm just trying to warn you now.
I don't think that's going to work, because I'm actually bidding on a Donkey Kong 64.
Okay, like imagine in Banjo-Kazooie, right? There's like a note, right? And there's like 10 notes, and you pick them up. And you're like, boom, 10 out of 100 notes. Great. Okay, that's great. Now imagine Donkey Kong 64. You can switch between, I think, 5 characters by going into a character barrel. Now imagine that if you see they have bananas that every character can pick up, but only Donkey Kong can get yellow bananas. Diddy can only get red bananas, and like Tiny can only get blue bananas. So now imagine that you're Donkey Kong and you see a red banana like this, and you can't pick it up because you got to switch to Diddy. That's Donkey Kong 64. And like, I'm not saying you just press R and switch to him. You got to go back into like a barrel and do it. So yeah, be very careful if you're jumping in on DK.
But I mean, like, I'm not just, I like that kind of games. I think it's also like my love of Metroidvania titles, when it's just like, here's this world, find everything. I'm just like, yes.
Have you played Samus Returns yet?
Yes, I'm actually 10 hours in. I'm almost to the end. I'm just doing. I'm going back all the way through to get 100%. My DS is actually like right behind me. It's dead.
Charging up. All right then. Well.
But yeah, I love. Oh my god! And like my brother comes in and he was watching me play once, and I'm at an edge, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm seeing if there's a way I can get my money that I died with back without dying again." And he's just like, that's a bottomless pit. I go, "Yeah, but maybe if I jump this time and die, the rest of the money,
maybe the money will fall this way."
Yeah, and he's just like, "You got a problem?" I go, "No, I just want my money back."
The fishing rod helps. You can get money with the rod. I don't know if you've tried that before.
No, I did not.
No, yeah. You
died like so much less.
So there's a few tricks like that.
But yeah, I mean, Shovel Knight is a fantastic game for when that comes in. I'm getting back to on topic. Like I think that months that you guys delayed it and polished it up is what really helped make Shovel Knight as good as it is. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I'm happy that we could. We could take the time needed.
Because those controls are super tight and awesome. I mean, like just replaying it when Shannon gave the good to go, and we can set something up. It's like, well, then I'm just gonna go back and replay Shovel Knight, and now I'm into Plague Knight, and I'm gonna go on to Spectre of Torment.
Excellent.
And then I think I'm gonna go on to
King of Cards.
King of Hearts, yeah, King of Cards. But I'm just trying to think because where am I at in Plague Knight? I'm only like 1 or 2 levels, and I'm not that far.
Okay, well, yeah, I hope you find time for Spectre because we pulled out all the stops with that. He has all new levels, music, the works. So if you haven't jumped in yet, I think there's a lot of exciting stuff there to play through.
A lot of people say it plays like Mega Man X.
He can interact with walls, like he can climb up a little bit and then jump down. Mm-hmm. But I would say we went into Spectre Knight knowing that we didn't want infinite wall climbing like Mega Man X because I feel like that's pretty well explored. Like Mega Man does it, Super Meat Boy has it. Like it's an idea that like I can play a lot of games that gets that feeling. But it does have a little bit of like wall climbing and acrobatics involved.
Yeah. Well, from what I played though, because like when I downloaded it on my Switch, I didn't move over to Shovel Knight right away, so it started Plague Knight, or not Plague Knight, but Spectre of Torment. I was just like, what the heck is this? I wanted Shovel Knight. And I started playing through. I'm like, this is pretty good.
Oh, good. Glad you liked it.
Then I switched over. Then I just messing up. I dropped my Switch down to pet my dog, and I hit the wrong button, and it switched over to the save file 1. And I clicked the button accidentally, and I was like, you can filter it through. I got more games. I just like
it's a treasure trove. It's a whole gaggle of gameplay.
But they're all good. Like that's the only thing. I mean, Plague Knight is a little iffy for me because I'm not quite used to the jumping yet. But
there's a lot to learn with Plague Knight. We wanted Plague Knight to be a character that you, since you were playing through familiar stages, we wanted to be a character that you're learning about the character through the entire game, rather than Shovel Knight, where you play through 2 screens. You're like, okay, I understand everything Shovel Knight can do, and you kind of learn more about the environment and enemies.
Yeah, but one thing I liked about we'll get a little bit. I'm going to talk about this later. Let's get back on topic. Okay. I feel like if I start talking, we're going to go on another longer tangent. But what I want to talk to you about, you guys did the month delay. When did Nintendo, you guys had a deal with Nintendo to come out first on their console, wasn't it?
No, that's not true.
It wasn't?
No, there's nothing like that. It was, for us, we were a team of 5 people. So we could only focus on a few platforms. And so we were working on the original Kickstarter platforms, which was PC, Steam, Mac, Linux, and 3DS and Wii U. And so that was what we set in stone is what we would do, and so that's what we focused on. There wasn't any deal with Nintendo or anything like that. It was just this is what we set aside to actually work on because we can only do so much at once.
Okay, now, because that's good to know. Because I was going to actually ask a series of questions, so that's good to know. So, what was you guys decided on the Wii U then? Was that really challenging? Because I know The Wii U, when it first came out, got a lot of third-party support, like right out the gate. You know, you had Mass Effect 3, Batman Arkham City Armored Edition. You know, it had some third-party support. And then, like, you know, it didn't sell well. And then a lot of developers complained that it was hard to port a game over because you had to use the gamepad screen.
I mean, for us, our game was already, like, we were already accounting for the 3DS's second screen. And so the additional, like, functions on the Wii U gamepad seemed par for the course. It's like, okay, we're going to put art down there. We're going to have selectable relics. You're going to be able to review the inventory. Like, we already had that set up at a technical level. So it wasn't, the idea of the Wii U gamepad was not a daunting task. It seemed like just like another part of the system that might be a fun way to play through the game. At the same time, like, you know, we focused on 3DS and Wii U because we believed Shovel Knight would be a game that would be right at home on those consoles. If you were using the Wii U to play like Super Mario 3, then Shovel Knight would probably be like, you know, something you might want to take a look at. If you were playing, you know, 3D Classics Kid Icarus on the 3DS, you know, Shovel Knight might be a game you like might have a passing interest in. And so it seemed like a natural fit. We were excited to do like stereoscopic 3D. Like we were already familiar with both systems. We worked on 3DS and Wii U previously. And we were excited to like, you know, put in a Street Pass mini game. We were excited to do stereoscopy. We were excited. I worked on the Wii U Miiverse integration. That was like all something that I was just excited to work on. And everyone's like, no one stopped me. So I kept doing it. And so just making the most of that system and making it, I don't know, make it a compelling thing was just something that was interesting to us already. And thankfully, people also agreed and they showed up and supported the game once it released.
Now, out of the original platforms you guys released it on, which one sold? Where did it sell the best? Was it Steam, Linux, PC?
Well, Linux and Mac were those were a little bit like 2 weeks later because we needed time to you know get machines and compiles all set up for that. If you check out our first month sales article on yachtclubgames.com, that has more specific graphs and numbers. I don't have it in my head right now, but I believe 3DS and Wii U combined were about equal with Steam by itself. And so, yeah, it was like a pie of that stature.
Okay. So
now
I
would say pretty even. I would say like more or less evenly across like Nintendo platforms and Steam. It was a pretty even spread that we're very happy with.
Oh yeah, I can understand that. So, and then when did you guys reach your stretch goals? Right, like you guys said you had stretch goals of Xbox and then PlayStation. And
the platforms actually weren't a part of stretch goals.
Oh, they weren't.
They were all focused on gameplay, mostly gameplay features like body swap mode, like battle mode, and things like that. We knew we wanted to bring the game to more systems from the beginning. It was just a matter of like what we could line up. And so having $20,000 more did not mean that we could suddenly have time to make it work on PS4. That was something that we would have to tackle after the game was out, like in due process, in due time.
So when was the decision made then to start the process of Xbox to PS4 and like after the launch of the Wii U and all
once post-release, once things started stabilizing, just in terms of, okay, nothing crashes, we have updates, everyone can play the game and enjoy it, and like, we have some bug fixes that we're working on. Then we started thinking about Plague Knight, and we started thinking about, bringing it to other systems and platforms. But the targeting PC, 3DS, and Wii U was already like, that already is like our lowest spec system with the 3DS. That was already a console, and that was already like a PC style system. So all the like widgets, as it were set up to be multi-platform. It was just a matter of working on each implementation, like how the PS4 renders and how the input of the Xbox is handled. So we were definitely building with cross-platform in mind, and so we were able to do that all in all our due diligence.
Okay, so then like you guys even ported it to the Vita, right?
That's right, the Vita, the PS3. It's on the PS3.
Yeah, it was on everything. But like one system that I really want to buy it for is my Vita, because I'm just kind of, I already had it on Wii U, and then I got it on my Switch. I'm just like, the Vita needs some love. Like,
it's nice, yeah. The OLED I think looks really great on it, and you do get an extra bonus encounter with Kratos if that like gives you a little bit of an extra edge to give it a look-see. And there's a few touchscreen gimmicks, like actual gimmicks. Like, okay, when Shovel Knight's walking, if you back touch Shovel Knight, he like freaks out and starts like going like this. And that does nothing. There's no gameplay purpose, and you can turn it off. But it's there just to remember, like, oh yeah, I can backtouch Shovel Knight. That's weird.
Cool. Like, I might.
Nobody talks about backtouch Shovel Knight, but you know what? It's a big deal.
Yeah. So it was always misunderstood and overlooked. We needed to get this out. Hashtag backtouch Shovel Knight.
Backtouch the Shovel Knight. Yeah. I mean, I think I was happy we could make it work on Vita, especially like all the handheld platforms. Just where like on 3DS, Shovel Knight renders at the 3DS's resolution. So every pixel is an exact pixel on the 3DS screen. And that's how we targeted it to work out. So like playing on Shovel Knight 3DS is so great because everything's so like precise and tiny. On the Vita, everything's very bright and vivid. And now on the Switch, which is the best of both worlds of portable and handheld, you kind of get the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah, that's kind of where like I played the most of it was on my Switch because I'm just like, well, I got home from work. I worked on a little bit of, videos and stuff. And when I was emailing Shannon back and forth, it was like 9, 10 o'clock at night. I was just like, I'll play a level or two.
Yeah. I think that's being able to put a level in the standby 5 minutes in, I think is a great strength for tackling big stages in Shovel Knight. Okay.
So then before we get on to like, other big feats that Yacht Club has had, you guys are probably one of the best Kickstarter supporters. When you guys maintain so much communication with your Kickstarter backers. Was that an easy task, or did you guys like all set aside like here's like an hour or two a day where we're actually going to talk to our Kickstarter backers?
I mean, all that only happens through like anxiety and worrying. Like, we try to be responsive. We want to make sure that if something is if there's a fire, we try to put it out. If there's something that's a little unclear, we try to clarify it as best we can. And so, we just, from the outset, we tried to be very involved we respond to every email. We respond to every, Twitter, question. We keep up to date if anyone, private messages us about questions on the Kickstarter or anything like that. I would say, that's all just because we want to make sure everyone's, okay, everyone's happy with the game. Everyone's got what they needed. There's so many things when it comes to a Kickstarter launch and distribution that is, probably confusing, or that can be it's where's my game key? How come it doesn't work? Steam is giving me a DirectX error. Does Steam use DirectX? I don't understand. And so it's whenever those big launches happen, it's all hands on deck here. We're all trying to respond to everything, get that information out there. But thankfully, everyone's patient. Everyone's able to reach out and give us the benefit of the doubt, so we can try to get back and with any info. But yeah, I would say it's never easy. It's never setting aside an hour, because people can contact you at all times, and so we just try to stay vigilant, whether that's responding to a support email over the weekend or responding to Twitter questions while walking my dog at home. It's just what we try to do.
I gotcha. I understand that completely. On the couple of guys that I'm in contact now, it's just every email, whenever they email me back, I'm always just I got to just email you back right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's stressful for sure, but it's I mean, if people are enthusiastic enough to reach out, we're trying to do the best we can to respond in kind. So,
so then how do you guys? Where am I going to go with this? How do you guys understand when somebody actually contacts you and they're kind of pissy? You know what I mean? You obviously have to have had dealt with that, and and I the way I always do it. I'm just okay, I'm sorry. First off, I'm sorry.
I mean, usually I find a lot of times that I read things more negatively than they are, and so in a lot of cases, I assume the initial thing is defer my brow and think oh no, somebody's having a truly terrible time. But usually by talking through it calmly and trying to help, a lot of people are oh, by the way, sorry if that came off as aggressive. I really didn't mean it like that. Or hey, thanks, love the game. And so usually just assuming that, not assuming the worst goes goes very far. Trying to make sure people have different ways of communicating in text or over social media or something like that. And so they could say Propeller Knight's the worst, or my game crashes, this is literally unplayable. And you could say hey, I'm so sorry about that. There's a fix for that. If you just update to this, and they go, oh, thanks. By the way, this is my favorite game in the world. Thanks so much. And so like there's that initial terror of like, oh no, like we ruined somebody's day, and then like, oh, like, you know, but at least we made their year better in like some way like that.
I've had a guy who was adamant with me about like I'm just doing crap and I'm like I'm the worst. I'm just like, I'm sorry. What can I do to help? And he goes, nothing. And he walked away. It's just like, you know, but sometimes you just can't deal with those people. You're just like, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're not gonna we're not gonna lie to people, and so if we're not going to pretend something is different than it is, and so if somebody like doesn't like an aspect of the game, but that's our decision and that was our like a conscious choice, then we're gonna stick by it. But if it's something technical or something that is just a question, then we do what we can to respond in earnest.
Like Propeller Night.
Like Propeller Night.
Okay, so moving on to like your other guys, like you guys, you know, for being a studio that was founded in 2013, you guys actually have a big, like a lot of big things on your resume. One of them is like you guys were the first to actually have your, get an original amiibo.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you guys were like, I think, aren't you like the first like third party that wasn't part of the Smash Bros. Line?
I think we're the only third party still to this day that I'm aware of. There's like Box Boy, but that's still like I think done by Nintendo. As far as I know, yeah, we were the first and still the current. That was a tremendous opportunity when we were at E3 and Amiibo were first unveiled because we were doing a Shovel Knight on stage kind of thing. We saw them and like Sean immediately started asking like, can we do a Shovel Knight one? Can we make a Shovel Knight Amiibo? And they're like, okay, like calm down. Like right now we're like Nintendo's Amiibos are here. We're like, okay. And every now and again when we'd see, a representative or anyone from Nintendo, we'd ask like, hey, can we do a Shovel Knight Amiibo? Look, we can make one. We don't know how, but we'll do it. And eventually it went silent. And after on a mysterious month, we got an email just saying like, hey, we're interested in talking. Were you guys serious about wanting to make one? And we're like, yes. And so thankfully we were able to make it happen.
But like, so was it exciting though when they actually gave you the okay? And then what was the process after that? Was like, did you guys have to, I assume you guys have an artist on board, like for your games.
Well, yeah, we create art here as a company for sure. But when it comes to making 3D molds and deciding like Pantone colors for printing and things like that, there are still elements that we were doing for the first time. And so we were working with partners to make that happen. And if anything had to happen in-house, we would like run around and make sure like everything could happen. We were like driving to different stores to pick out like, Pantone colors. We were like doing turnarounds and like figuring out like Shovel Knight from all angles and all that. It was definitely a lot to put together, but even just the design phase, let alone like manufacturing and shipping and getting it out of customs and getting pre-orders up and things like that. It was quite the journey.
But it was well worth it, I'd assume.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. I'm excited to see Shovel Knight sitting on your desk right now.
Cool, because it's usually where he sits. Legitimately, that's usually where he sits.
Oh, wonderful.
I have my Mega Man up there too, but that's Mega Man. I try to put Mega Man in every video, but Shovel Knight usually just sits there.
You've seen the new ones, right?
No.
We announced at PAX Plague Knight, Spectre Knight, and King Knight amiibo.
Oh, so what you're saying is my Shovel Knight amiibo collection is no longer complete.
It's incomplete. The Shovel Knight that's the Shovel Knight amiibo. But if you want the Treasure Trove amiibo, there's another option coming out probably next year.
Looks like that'll be a big.
He's a little lonely. I mean, he's
a little lonely. He needs some friends.
Yeah, he needs a plague doctor and a grim reaper and a decadent dandy to decorate the desk.
Yeah, I can see that. Might have to move him then, though.
A little full, yeah. Maybe rotate them out. Like, oh, this is a Spectre Knight month.
Yeah, this is a Spectre Knight. Actually, like, speaking of Spectre Knight, while we're kind of off on a tangent here, I'm actually doing a 24-hour live stream this 27th, and it's going to be a test for a longer live stream later this year. But Spectre Knight, I'm hoping to finish Plague Knight by 2 weeks from now, so when I do the DLC, I can actually play Spectre Knight for the 24-hour live stream. Because the theme is just going to be like, Halloween-esque games.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect for a spooky month.
That's what I thought too. I was like, well, it'll work out perfectly then.
No, it's great. I hope it goes well.
Oh, I hope so too. But this is just like I said, the test for a bigger one in the next couple months. I can't really say much about just yet. Kind of working on some stuff, but it's a long live stream. I'll give that hint. Long, like multiple days long.
Oh, geez. Well, hopefully there's some rest in there for you.
I don't think the rules allow it. Not very often. Anyways, back to on top of those. So you guys did your amiibo. You guys, successful launch with Shovel Knight amiibo. You guys then decided to publish games in 2016.
That's right. Yeah.
Me being a Mega Man fan, I couldn't help but notice that you published Azure Striker Gunvolt Striker Pack.
Absolutely, yeah. That was something, we the year prior we released Shovel Knight physical on 3DS, Wii U, PS4, even PC in Europe, and so we had that system set up where we were familiar with launching a game on 3DS, but we knew we weren't making another game that wasn't Shovel Knight for a while. And so we had this knowledge, but we had nothing to do with it. And at that time, Inti Creates contacted us, and they were interested in bringing over Gunvolt to the West as a physical product, just like they had over there. And so it was like a perfect match. It was exciting opportunity.
So was that just that they contacted you and guys yeah, sure, we're willing to publish?
Yeah. I mean, it was an exciting thing for us. We were excited to help get more games out. People responded pretty positively to the physical Shovel Knight edition, and so bringing in another action platformer starring a blue-clad hero just made a lot of sense, right?
You guys don't really diversify much there.
Well, it was 16-bit at least instead of 8-bit, and so
okay.
I think there's a good jump there for sure.
There's a +8. And that was it. Yeah, that's a change. That's good. Sign off. But no, as much as I love that game on my 3DS.
Oh, great! Yeah, I'm glad you got to play it.
I was like, it's sad because I'm a big Mega Man fan, and I never heard of Azure Striker Gunvolt till 2.5 months ago.
Oh, okay.
Because I bought the Mega Man Mighty Gunvolt Burst on my Switch for $10.
Right.
I was like, who's this Gunvolt?
Gunvolt, yeah. Well, great. I'm glad I could be there to help steer you back to it.
No, but I mean that's good. So yeah, I love that game a lot. But anyways,
I enjoyed it. Yeah, the team at Inti Create that just interacting with them during Gunvolt for Blaster Master Zero and all of the stuff they've been up to. It's great to. I don't know, it's very similar mindsets and goals in terms of what we like to see in games or what we like to make happen. So yeah, I'm glad we could cooperate on that.
Well, I think it's also kind of sad though, you don't really see a lot of action platformers anymore. Everybody wants to make them, but it's hard to see one that's like Mega Man. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And people always try and they say this is a Mega Man-esque game, and then people who have played Mega Man games or played through it, it's this is easy. It's not like Mega Man. Mega Man kicks your teeth in.
Yeah, I mean it's difficult if you were making a run and gun Mega Man game. That would be tough. That's a lot of expectations in terms of how you expect everything to work. But if you do it exactly like Mega Man, you're well, I can just play Mega Man 1 through 10. Whatever. Why do I need this game in my life if it's just doing exactly that? And so that's the risk of setting yourself up to I don't know, to stick that closely to an existing franchise, even if you do love every part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I love Mega Man. Like I said, I keep saying it, but I do I'm not a long time Mega Man fan. I fell in love with Mega Man about 3 years ago when I was laid off from work. As good
time as any.
Yeah, I got laid off from work, and some guy was selling Mega Man 1 through 6 for the NES for super cheap, and I got it, and I was like, Mega Man kicks my teeth in, but I love it.
I imagine there's an alternate reality where he was selling Hot Shots Golf or something, and you're now I hit the greens every weekend, real life digital. I love golf. It could have been that you were tipping point there.
That was it. That was the one. That one random night when I was up at 2 a.m. I was up at 2 a.m. and Hot Shots Golf.
Hey, it's a great series.
Yeah, I've never played it. I'm not a big golf guy. My only golf experience is with a friend at a driving range when we had a bet who could hit the guy on the tractor.
I hope that ended without pain for anyone.
Oh, no one got hurt, but you know the ball. You aim for the guy who's picking up the balls, in the cab over. And we both sucked at golf, and he's like way on the back, and we got nowhere close.
He was pretty much just taunting you, yes.
Yeah, and it's just like we got nowhere close. So whatever. We started shooting.
You gotta work on it every day.
Not really that big of a golf guy, like I said. But anyway, so yeah, back to kind of on topic. Like, okay, you did the publishing. Now you guys started, and then you released. When did Plague Knight come out? Plague Knight came out in 2016 as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, Plague Knight came out before Gunvolt. That was because that came out with the physical edition of the game.
Mm-hmm.
We were like lining it all up for the same release. So that was a year before, I guess. Gunvolt was the summer after that, and then Spectre of Torment was the next spring after that.
Mm-hmm. So, like, what were the challenges when you guys did? You guys had a poll of who, what knights you were going to do DLC for, and Plague Knight, King Knight, and Spectre Knight were the winners. Which one? How did you guys go about deciding? Like, we're going to do Plague Knight first, then Spectre Knight, then?
I don't think we intentionally like ordered them out in for any logical reason. Like, well, he got first, so he can go last, or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was more just, after Shovel Knight, we wanted there to be a character that would be a direct contrast to Shovel Knight. And so already out of the three, a ranged character with explosives was already like drastically different. So we're like, okay, Plague Knight looks perfect. Like let's do Plague Knight. And we didn't really have a good reason to do it. We didn't really have a good reason not to. It's like, yeah, that's great. Like, what's Plague Knight like? And we started talking through it. Once Plague Knight was complete, we sort of set up after Shovel Knight, or during the development of Shovel Knight, we didn't worry about these campaigns at all. We didn't think like, well, what's this object going to do when Plague Knight eventually gets to it? We focused entirely on Shovel Knight because we just wanted Shovel Knight to be the best game it possibly could. Then once the ship has sailed on Shovel Knight, we reset and we're like, okay, let's open up the game again and let's think about Plague Knight. What's Plague Knight going to do? And we're not going to think about King Knight or Spectre Knight because we just want Plague Knight to be the best that he can be. Then once Plague Knight was done, we said, oh God, opening up the game again was like a nightmare, like jumping out on everything from the beginning. Like, we can't do this 2 more times. So we'll die if we do that. And so we worked on the initial concepts of King Knight and Spectre Knight at the same time. And it was like, well, like Spectre Knight should do this, and King Knight, would be a campaign more like that. And we like worked through some of the rough mobility, and like we worked through like some of the core story ideas. And then we realized working on 2 characters at once was too crazy. So we put King Knight away, and we focused and brought Spectre Knight to work on all the burners all at once. And we focused entirely on Spectre Knight. Then we came back to King Knight, checked out what was up, what we were thinking, and like threw out 80% of it because we're like, well, that was dumb. Like, we're not doing that again. But the core ideas still stayed, and we just kept building on those. Mm-hmm. And so, we've pretty much done it differently each time.
That's cool. Like I said, Plague Knight feels drastically different from Shovel Knight. And then, from what I played at Spectre Knight, it's drastically different from all 3. And I think that's also an appeal, because it's just like, all too often it's just like a palette swap. And as much as I love Mighty Gunvolt Burst, don't get me wrong, I put 50 hours into my Gunvolt Burst in the last 3 months. I love that game. But it's just a palette swap, every DLC character. It's just,
well, they're all based around the core shooting mechanics, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I mean, when we thought about doing these, we thought about what games had features like this, and we thought of like Symphony of the Night with Richter mode. And it's like, okay, it's like that was neat that you had Richter with all new moves, but he kind of like didn't have a place. Like, there's no story reason, there's no like elements there. So we're like, so we think we could do better than that, or just like something more structured and focused than that. We thought about like all the extra Castlevania portable modes, like where you play as Albus in Order of Ecclesia, or you play
you guys are going deep on the Castlevania.
Yeah. Well, look, this is secretly a Castlevania stream, so let's just get into this. Or like playing as the sisters in Portrait of Ruin. And so like it's like all these were cool that you play as a different character, but you're doing the same stuff, and like the world is just kind of opened up. So we wanted it to be like, no, this is like a new game, new character, and you're like on their adventure. So you're going to find out more about them. You're going to unlock abilities about them. Anything that has like an analog to Shovel Knight, like we should explore. And we also thought about Mega Man Powered Up. I don't know if you played that on the PSP, but Mega Man Powered Up. If you beat any of the bosses with the bus, what? No, that's great. That's a good game. Have you ever played it? Don't hate on the 3D, man.
I played it a little, but my biggest problem is like, okay, like I said, 3 years ago, so I've only played like Mega Man 1, Mega Man 2, and I'm on to Mega Man 3. Like, I got a very limited time, but I love Mega Man. And like, I tried Power Up because I was like, you know, I was on a road trip, and I was like, I'm gonna play through Mega Man Powered Up. They say it's just an HD Mega Man, so I tried playing it like I play Mega Man, and it's just like, you know what? It's kind of like you get used to playing a game a certain way, and then it's just like they just tinged it a little bit, and you're just like, God, now I gotta get used to all this. I don't like it.
I found Powered Up to be pretty. You know, it's like there's a difference between reading 2D and 3D, but I think they did a good job like representing the different sizes of the characters, the readability in like a fun new way. But more importantly is when you beat any boss in Powered Up with a Buster only, you actually unlock the ability to play as that character in their own story. So it's the same like story conceit. It's like, oh God, thank God you're here, Guts Man. Like all the robots went crazy except you. And then you play as Guts Man and you save the day. And so that was cool because you get to see like, you're like, wow, like Bomb Man throws bombs and now I can throw bombs. Iceman can do that and now I can do it. Let's see how I like go through these levels. And so those were the two games that we knew we wanted to do better than, or like to build upon those ideas. And at that point, I guess we set a pretty high standard because we took a full year and then some for each one and made them like pretty much entirely new games that we're now releasing as entirely new games. So.
But, you know, that just goes back to the whole thing of giving the game the time it needs to, you know, make it right. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like as sad as it is, now don't get me wrong, I understand like AAA development is super hard, you know, because you got these big budgets, the companies want their investment back as soon as possible.
And you also have like a lot of people trying to bring a single cohesive creative vision to pass. That's like, yeah, definitely, it's like no small order.
And it's just sad because you're like, when you play in, I can't think of it. Oh, I can think of one, but I'm not going to say it because I'm trying to be less negative.
Let's not hurt anyone here. Everyone's trying to make some great stuff.
Exactly. But like, there's just like, it's sad because you're like, man, if only they had like 2 more months. I know this game could have been like so awesome. And I understand completely, you know what I mean? Like, they were under a lot of pressure. They had the budget, they had to get it out. You know what I mean?
That could have been after 2 months. Like that could have been 2 months and 2 months and 2 months and 2 months for the past year. Like a lot of times, yeah, it's like everyone giving their all, and you know, sometimes a very small change after the fact could have a big impact, and so it's difficult.
Because like when I first started doing YouTube videos, and then even before that, when I started writing, you know, you go through a process. I always say, like, when you first start out, you're gonna be like, you're the hardest on everyone, you're the most negative. Then you start seeing behind the curtain. You know what I mean? Like, man, these guys went through a lot of crap to get this game out.
There's a lot of craft that goes into like any creative work or any like creation period, and so it can be difficult. But at the same time, like, you know, more time doesn't always mean more focus. If you were a little bit reeling in terms of like where the game should land or where, like, you know, any creative vision should land, 2 more months could lead you in a different direction entirely. You could be like, well, after looking at it, like, I think like we need to like focus more on this and less on that, and then that builds into 2 more months, that builds into a whole year, that builds into rewriting an entire character, that builds into like a new trend coming into play. Now you want loot boxes in it. Like, those are all too topical, too real. But anyway, so there's like
don't go loot boxes.
To think about. It's kind of like the same way, like if you were writing a cartoon show or like a sitcom, you know, you might think like, dude, we should rewrite that joke. Like, it's like not even funny or relevant anymore. And it's like, oh, or maybe it is. You're just sick of hearing it. Like, it's all, you know, trying to remain constructive, but not just changing things because you're sick of looking at it. That's like difficult. That's difficult to do.
Yeah, like one of my biggest problems is like I originally contacted you guys about sales numbers for the Striker Pack because I'm working on a Mega Man video, and legitimately within the first 2 weeks after I started talking with you guys, I had it done. And this is a problem that I need to work on more. But it's just like I took a step back, I watched it through, I was like, it can be better, you know. And you're just like, if I do this, and now I'm still working on it. I'm just like, I need to just, you know, get it done and get it out the door.
Yeah. It's, I mean, so long as the original focus is there, it's not like everything needs to be 100% perfection every time. It's a difficult balance to strike.
Yeah, but it's just like you know what I mean. It's kind of like you guys when you guys made Shovel Knight. You guys were like, I want to put out a good product, and that's my thing. It's like I think the biggest problem is like it's a new form of a show I want to do. It's a lot of research, and it's a longer form show too. So it's something I've never done before, and I want to do it right the first time.
Hmm.
And then like
Yeah,
like I said 2 months ago, I was like, oh man, God, look at all this stuff I learned. I'm gonna redo it.
yeah.
So.
It's we're always learning and pulling things forward. So,
Mhm.
but sometimes finishing something, even if it's not what you're 100% happy with, can be its own reward. Is knowing that like there's a certain point to know when something is like that's what you want to release, even if you have small grumbles or small like
Mhm.
small reservations about it.
Yeah, and it's just I need to you just need to get to that point when you realize the smaller things that you see, like when you're just looking at it and you see all the little imperfections. 90% of people aren't going to see those things because they're not going to know where you're going with them. And it's
Yeah,
just, yeah, that I'm working on now. Hopefully that's done in the next couple weeks. I'm hoping.
cool. It's very exciting.
Cool. But yeah, getting back to Shovel Knight, is there any before we wrap things up here, is there anything that you want to talk about? Like this is
Uh,
the one I'm proud of. Like
I mean,
Propeller
well,
Knight. I'm proud of Propeller Knight.
I'm proud of everything we make here. I'm proud of the amiibo. I'm proud of the Udon art book just came out, which is the Shovel Knight Design Works, which has a bunch of it's illustrations and concepts, but it also has like design thoughts and things that we went through our minds when making every corner of the game. And so it's cool to see all that in like a more presentable method than things that I already forgot about in my brain since then.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I'm happy with what we're doing here. I hope we continue to entertain and excite. We're working on King of Cards right now, which is the finale. It's the final campaign in the Shovel Knight original Shovel Knight quadrilogy. And so
So you say original Shovel Knight.
yeah. Well,
Is
doors
there?
open, right? We're not.
Do you guys have obviously you guys you're not just you guys have some idea of where you're going next? Can you
I mean,
give me a little hint? Are
we're
you guys gonna
entirely
stick
focused.
with the 2D
Sorry.
platformer, or are you gonna go a
I
little?
think we can change it. We're entirely focused on King Knight right now, but we are thinking about what we want to make in the future. And we don't necessarily want to be a pixel company. We don't necessarily want to be, a platformer company. But we do want to make gameplay games where with a sense of game control, with a sense of gameplay, like finesse and challenge in there, similar to Shovel Knight, similar to games we've already worked on. And so that's not going to go away. But we aren't necessarily beholden to any genre or art style, and we're going to probably explore that more and more as we go on. That doesn't mean we could very well make a 2D platformer next, but we could also make a 3D platformer maybe one day. Maybe we make a 2D game, but it's in a different style of gameplay, but still something that has isn't too far from what you'd probably expect Yacht Club to make.
Mm-hmm. I think it's cool though. You guys, made or focused on gameplay, and that's always cool to see because once again, in the AAA world and all that, everybody's like, okay, we're gonna do cutscenes, we're working on more of an experience. But gameplay, I feel like, gameplay is just so important anymore. And I hate to say it, a lot of times it just doesn't get the attention it needs. And Shovel Knight is a prime example of a game that is gameplay focused and it just feels super tight. You know what I mean? It feels like an NES game. It belongs up there with Mario 3 and Mega Man and Castlevania to an extent.
I mean, I think right now it's exciting because there are games that have these different focuses, and that's I think that's really cool that exists. Like Shovel Knight, even though Shovel Knight starts as a gameplay focus, we still take our worlds and characters seriously in a joking manner, in a way that's lighthearted for Shovel Knight. We still want there to be a reason why your character is doing what he's doing. We want there to be a larger world that you're excited to visit, but in the guise of gameplay and jumping on enemies for money, and so that will always be a part of it. The same way that there are more games that take a narrative focus or more games that take a community focus, and then that's only where they start, right? Just because that's the focus, that doesn't mean you have to wall out those other ideas. It's well, because we're making a social game, that means no one can have any fun, period. It's just where they start. It's where the flag is planted, and then you can kind of expand out and bring in more ideas and more fun to it. And so it's cool to see more variety of games. But just the same, yeah, we're very excited about the kinds of games we make here, obviously. And so I'm glad we could be one of the companies making it.
Yeah, like I'm glad that you guys came on. But speaking of gameplay, real quick though, one thing I did want to talk about before we actually wrap up, like you guys in Shovel Knight, you know how you don't really. It's not like Mega Man. When you beat a boss, you don't gain their ability, but you know you have to find it throughout the level.
Yeah.
Like, how did that come to actually be? Now that
well, we didn't want the game to be exactly Mega Man, and so we actually decided to distance it pretty far because we were considering what options we have. Right? It's like, okay, we have themed levels. We only have like 8 or so of them. And so what does Mega Man do? Mega Man, you like take the weakness and you beat the next boss. And so that works well for Mega Man because it has a flat stage structure. Like you can go from Flash Man to the next stage and like choose what you're going to do with it. But in Shovel Knight, since we wanted to be more of a gradual ramp of difficulty, there wasn't really a lot of like meaningful stage choice for that to be an advantage. If you fought King Knight and his special power allowed you to beat Spectre Knight, then you would go, well, I can only go fight Spectre Knight, so okay, thanks. Like now it's an easy boss. At the same time, we also we wanted to create a balance where it didn't really feel like you were just using an ability and seeing it burn down a boss like it has been explored in Mega Man. Then we thought about Zelda, and like Zelda, you get the weapon halfway through the dungeon, which is cool. It's like, oh yeah, like you're excited to go to a dungeon because you get a weapon, you use the weapon and all that. But we are a little less excited about the mandatory progression of it because that's great for Zelda, but for our game, like we didn't want it to be like every level is about getting a weapon and then having to use it, even if you didn't like it, and then then you leave the level and you're done with it forever. So we wanted to take a more hands-off approach where maybe you beat a level and you don't even get the weapon. Like you have to find it. Maybe you get a weapon and it's your favorite thing and you use it for the rest of the game. Maybe you get a weapon, you use it like situationally. We want it to be like more like getting a tool, something that you think about occasionally but don't always have access to. And so that's where we started piecing together that you could find it mid-stage, you had to buy it, but maybe you couldn't afford it, and there was always off the beaten trail. And so yeah, I'm excited where it landed on that. Then it feels more like you get to use the fire rod, you get to use the repeller dagger, as opposed to like, okay, now you have to do this, okay, now you have to do that. Kind of.
Yeah, or like in the 3D Zeldas, when you get the bow and arrow, you already know what the boss battle is.
Right, and you're like, okay, where did I see all those eyeball switches? All right, let me go back. Okay, the boss has like a hard to hit eye that I have to shoot. Like that's fine. That's like what Zelda is like. What previously Zelda would build itself previously. And so that's like great. That's great in those series, but it's something we didn't want to explore in Shovel Knight.
Okay, so. Like, was there like anything that you wanted to add in though for the gameplay wise? Like, if there was, one thing that you would like to add on to Shovel Knight right now, is there anything? Or I'm not saying like the game's imperfect and like, oh, this is what I.
No, it's all good. I mean, like if anything, Shovel Knight was more like if it was the initial Mega Man 1 of the series, it already has a lot of stuff in it. It has like a map. It has like shops and villages. Like we didn't make the Mega Man 1. We made like the Super Mario 3 right out of the gate, where it feels like there's like already a lot going on. We keep like, exploring new ideas with Spectre Knight, with Plague Knight, and now with King Knight. I would say once King of Cards is out, we will have officially used all of our original ideas from Shovel Knight. Like everything that we wrote down and like threw out because it wasn't a good idea back during original Shovel Knight, we've brought back and made it a good idea now. Like on Inspector of Torment, the first boss you fight is Black Knight riding a turtle. And that was because in the original Shovel Knight, we said the first boss would be a turtle and you would like flip him over and attack him. And we have like an index card in like, you can see it in the art book and all that, of just like a knight on a turtle, like looking with an angry face. And we're like, nah, like we can't do that. That's too complicated for the first boss. But for Spectre Knight, we're like, let's bring back that turtle. Black Knight's getting this turtle. And like, we're going to make it happen.
It could be like the slowest jousting match ever.
Yes. Well, it's very... slow speed, but like high thrills or fast thrills. So we've been trying to like, every enemy that like maybe wasn't ready for prime time, we've revisited. And I think by the time King of Cards is done, well, that's it. Like we're out of like original ideas. In addition to, That sounds terrible. That's the worst quote. We're out of original ideas as of King of Cards. Thanks.
Oh my God, Yacht Club Games are out of original ideas after King
we
of
are
Cards.
out of ideas that we had concocted during original Shovel Knight. In addition to new ideas specific to King of Cards, in addition to ideas we need to like fill gaps and to like make it cohesive.
Nice.
So I would say when I think about Shovel Knight, I don't think like, man, I just wish he had a Symphony of the Night backdash for no reason. Like I feel like everything that's in Shovel Knight has its place, and I'm happy with how it turned out. And I would be remiss to like go in and add anything because we've been living in this universe. We did add stuff with Plague Knight. We did add stuff with Custom Knight. We added stuff with Spectre Knight. And so I would say we're like getting pretty good mileage out of our ideas in this world and where it could go.
Yeah, it's spanned about, what is it now, 4 or 5 years?
It's a pretty involved, dev cycle, all things considered.
It's good though. Like the best thing is it's like whenever you guys put out something, it's how much is Plague Knight? Isn't it like $15? And
Plague Knight was free.
Plague Knight was free, but
Spectre Knight was free.
Oh, okay.
If you owned original Shovel Knight, at any point you ever bought Shovel Knight, it receives all these updates for free.
Okay.
When Treasure Trove came out on the Switch, we did increase the price because it has like 3 games in it. And Spectre Knight could be purchased separately, and we're going to release Shovel Knight as a separate idea, a separate game, just normal Shovel of Hope. And the idea is, if you've never heard of the game and you're looking about trying it, $24.99 is like a big jumping off point. And so we want to release like standalone Shovel and Spectre Knight, so it's something where you think like, oh yeah, like okay, I'll try it out. Maybe I won't like it, but at least it's like less of a big question. Like I'm not ready to buy 4 campaigns. I just want to like jump around as the knight. Kind of.
I wasn't expecting to get 4 campaigns when I bought Treasure Trove. I was expecting it just to be like, Shovel Knight. I was like, man,
Shovel Knight's Done Edition.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that's really expensive for a game that's 3 years old. Ah, well, I need another Switch game besides Breath of the Wild, so I bought it and was like, holy crap, I got 3 other campaigns. Whatever.
Yeah, they're big serious things. So I hope it burns a hole in your screen just as well as Breath of the Wild did.
I think I put more time into that than Breath of the Wild.
Wow.
I probably put more time in Breath of the Wild and Shovel Knight and Mighty Gunvolt Burst than Breath of the Wild. I like Breath of the Wild, don't get me wrong. It's just like I don't know.
You've had your fill of the Wild for now.
Yeah, for now. When the DLC comes back and comes out this winter, I'll get it. I already got it. I'll download it and play some more, but nah.
Yeah, I mean when the system came out, I thought it was great just because Breath of the Wild is such a it's an ambient game that you like kind of live in for a while. Like you're walking for a while, you're you're exploring things, you're like setting your sights out in the distance and like heading out there and making it happen. And so I was happy that Shovel Knight was there too, just because it's a nice chaser to that. Where it's like, you did like a lot of like really long form stuff in Zelda, a lot of like big exploration in a big 3D environment. But now you're just gonna like go right, jump on enemies, open chests. And so I thought that was like a nice contrast where you're like I just want to play something really arcadey for a bit, and then okay, actually never mind, I want to go back and like I want to jump in there and like decide where I want to go in like a big open world. So I think it's fun.
Yeah, well, I think I'm out of questions for you. You got anything you want to add?
No, I think if you haven't played Plague of Shadows or Spectre of Torment, and as of next year, King of Cards, but you own Shovel Knight, I urge you to try them. It was a free update for all of those, and they're like big campaigns. So I hope you give them a shot. If you're curious about which one, I would say Spectre of Torment because it's all new. Consider it. Please consider it.
Okay, well, thank you, Ian, for joining me, and I hope you guys watching enjoyed this podcast. It'll probably be up again next week.
All right.
Yeah. And once again, guys, I thank you so much for watching. This is Nilfinity Gaming. This is my interview with Yacht Club Games. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye. You don't want to say bye?
Oh, bye. Goodbye. Bye. Sorry, I thought I would have been off screen by then. I wasn't sure. I didn't understand the cutting process.
Okay.
Sorry. Bye.
Bye.